Hey everybody, it is Dr. Sam here,
And Sandria.
and we just want to extend a happy Mother's Day to everybody.
Yes.
So listen, if you look in Webster's dictionary, the definition of mother, specifically as a verb, has two meanings. The first being is to give birth, to give rise to, and the second, to care for or protect. So you see, the first women, our biological mothers, provided us with the very nature of who we are. But the second women, our mothers, nurtured us, which was an undertaking. We give thanks to the womb that sheltered us in place until the magnificent day of our arrival. However, we would be remiss if we didn't fully acknowledge Corenia
And Alexandria.
for shaping and molding us into the strong Black women we are today.
We salute all the grandmothers, the aunties, the fast aunties, sisters, sister friends, cousins, and every queen in between that has willingly been a protector, disciplinarian, and loving human being that acts with unconditional love as you sacrifice many of your wants and needs for the wants and needs of your children. We appreciate how you add value to our world by making sure that your child is equipped with the knowledge, skills, and abilities to be competent and caring members of society.
So thank you, mommies, for just not giving life, but speaking life over your children. Being a mother is by far the hardest, most rewarding job a woman will ever experience. Well
Well
done.
done. Well done. Yes, yes. First of all, happy Mother's Day to you, Sam.
Thank you.
Like 2 times.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
Yes. Two little ones. So for the people, I have a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old, well, 9-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. So I feel extremely blessed.
Bless your ministry. Bless your ministry. Oh my goodness. I am the fast auntie. I am a godmother. So yeah, I get to dip in and out. Dip in, dip out.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I do want to get into our conversation today, though. So we dropped a meme, and the meme stated that biology is the least of what makes one a mother, right? So let's talk about that, a little bit. So there's the biological mother, there's the adopted mother. It seems like, once a person finds out that you're adopted, folks want to make that distinguishment for you. Okay. So what do you think? Like, should there be one? Should we be talking in terms of bio versus adopted and, that sort of thing? What are your thoughts?
So this is the thing for me, and you can probably relate to this. So I found out I was adopted at 38. So the first 38 years of my life, my mother was my mother. Like there was no reason to make a distinction, nothing to question. But after I found out, I'm like, well, my mother is still my mother. I can't put a qualifier on her. First of all, a qualifier that she didn't want. I shouldn't make that distinction because she never made that distinction with me while she was alive. So I was never her adopted daughter. I was never her adopted child. I'm her daughter. I'm her baby girl. I'm her Sandy. There was never a distinction. So for me, I don't make that distinction now. I feel like I'm clear anytime I talk to somebody and I talk about my mother, that they know I'm talking about Alexandria. And then if I say my birth mother, or if I say the name of my birth mother, then they know, okay, that's who I'm talking about. So that's how I make the distinction. Anytime I say mother, assume that I'm talking about the woman who was always my mother the 38 years prior to me finding out I was adopted. There's no distinction there for me.
Yeah, agreed. My mom has always just simply been my mother, period. And like you as well, if I'm referring to, my biological mother, I would definitely like use her first name. And I think it's a weird position to be in as well. It's almost like you feel like this is the person that gave me life. So, in a sense, they're your mother, right? But as we talked about earlier on, like mothering or parenting, period, like that's a verb, right? Like somebody has to sow into you. They have to, it's an action.
It's the work. It's the work.
It's work. It's definite work, for real. And of course, that does not take away from the importance of the biological mother, So if there are any biological mothers listening, like this by no means should give the impression that your role did not play a part, because it absolutely did. I mean, we're here, right? We're living, we're breathing, human beings. And so, with that, you provided us with the nature, and our mothers helped to nurture that nature. And so we recognize that both individuals had a part to play. So let me ask you this. Did you, like, as you were growing up, did you try and find yourself in your mom?
So the funny thing with me, so I'm almost 6 feet tall, and my mother was like 5'1", 5'2". And my father, he wasn't really that tall either. I want to say he was maybe about 5'7". So I was always kind of an anomaly. I didn't really see myself in them in that way. There were other tall people in my family, but I didn't really see the physical similarities, but I never questioned it. I would have people tell me all the time when I was little that you look just like your mom. You look just like your mom. And when I think about it now, it's hilarious to me, but because it's like, wait, actually. But I would always hear that growing up, you look just like your mom. So I never had a reason to question it. I never had a reason to intentionally look for it. But after seeing people in my biological family, that's when it really hit me that, wow, this is what it looks like when you see somebody who looks like you. I had never experienced that before. So when it happened, it still trips me out. Like, oh my God, there are people on this planet who look like me, that have my face, who are tall like me. So I'm not an anomaly. There are other people that share my characteristics. So it tripped me out. But growing up, I never had a reason to look for it. How about you?
So I absolutely adored my mother, like still do. And I would just, maybe like a lot of little girls, right? Like look at my mom and just watch her, like I would play in her, high heels. I would put on her perfume, I just wanted to be like her. But every time I looked at her, I'm like, we look absolutely nothing alike, period, point blank. Like there's you can't even search around for it. So like, let's just stop, right? And so it always used to just like unnerve me, right? But, I think like I would gravitate like towards, my father, because, he was a similar complexion, as me. We had similar personality. So that's kind of like how you rationalize for yourself, like, oh, well, I don't look like her, but I'm like him, so there's nothing going on. But like with my mom, she was just everything, to me, the epitome for me of like womanhood. And so really watching her and not, looking like her used to really unnerve me. And I would bring it up to her, as well.
Really?
Like,
What would she say? What would she
she
say?
would say, you look like your dad, so she would throw it off in that way. And so that's how I was able to like, put it in my head and be like, yeah, you're right. And even if I look at, pictures, now I'd be like, well, yeah, I could have been, you know,
Right.
his kid,
Right.
honestly. So it never really fully tripped me out. I'm tall as well, not as tall as you, but I'm 5'9", and so my mom is like maybe like 5'4", 5'5", but my father was 5'9" as well. So for me, I'm like, okay, I'm his height. So there were
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things where, again, you don't fit, but you rationalize it.
You
So,
rationalize it. Yeah.
and similar to what you're saying as well is like, to look at biological family, because I've also had that experience. It's like, whoa, like DNA, genes, that's a thing,
It's a
right?
thing. It's a thing. It's a thing. And I'm gonna tell you, so the day that I found out, so when I had the conversation with actually before the conversation with my aunt, when the seed was planted, so I had a cousin who mentioned it to me initially. And so when I got my cousin's message, the first thing I did was pull out the photo albums under my bed, and I started looking through all the pictures and studying my mom's face, my dad's face, my brother's face, trying to see, like, could it even be possible that I'm adopted? Like, do I look like these people? Like, I've known them all my life, but let me look again. Let me really look at these pictures. Let me look at the eyes, the nose. And when I looked at the pictures, similar to you, it's like, I look like I could have come from these people. But that was literally the first thing I did. I wanted to physically look at them because the genetics are so strong. My brother looks exactly like our dad, like spitting image from baby up to adulthood. And then my mother, she comes from a huge family. She was the oldest of 14, and
Wow.
they all look alike. And their children look like them. So the genes are very, very strong. So as I'm looking at these photos, I'm trying to pick up, do I actually see these genes in my face? Like,
Yeah.
it's a real thing.
It is. And it's funny what you just said, got me thinking about just my own journey in motherhood. And, I know, like, as we go through this journey with, Black to the Beginning and have a lot of different conversations, one of the things that we will definitely touch on is Black women in their, infertility. And I know that when I, first, wanted to get pregnant, I didn't have an issue getting pregnant, right? But my issue has always been keeping pregnancies. So the first pregnancy that I had was with twins. I ended up losing that pregnancy, and that was prior to me actually having my daughter that's 9 now. Very traumatic experience, which I won't fully talk about at this point. But after that, when I decided to get pregnant again, got pregnant, not a problem, lost that pregnancy. And I think, Sandy, that might have been, goodness, I might have told all of you guys, like, at a birthday party, I thought I was straight.
Yep.
Next thing I know, I've lost this pregnancy. And then I did end up having, my son. So one of the things too about like genes being strong, like my husband's family's genes are strong. So hey, Colemans.
Shout out to y'all.
You know who you are. Your genes are strong. Okay? The genes are strong. But let me say this though. I was actually, when I first had my daughter and she came out, I was disappointed. Okay. And so let me explain to you what that means. I'm disappointed because you look just like them. The only thing that I saw in my child's face when she was born was like this little sliver across the top of the eyes. Can y'all see that? Eyes. Yes. She had that, right? That was it. And honestly, and it took about 4 to 5 years before my daughter actually started to look like me. That's how I personally feel. Like, does she look like me now? I feel like she's my mini me.
That I was about to say, that is your mini me. She is all you all day long.
She's me. But that disappointment, that hurt for a long time, and being like, okay, now I have housed you. I have given you my all, and you look like doggone Coleman's.
Right.
You know, and I love y'all family if you're listening. But yeah, you all know what I'm trying to say here. It's like, as an adoptee, I'm just looking to see my face in somebody else's. And at that point, I hadn't been, biological, family or what have you. I just wanted to know that the family that I was creating, I was going to see myself, in them. And it was hard, it was hurtful. And I think that it's something that when you're embarking on motherhood and you don't get that, right off the top, it can be very disappointing. Very.
And see, I wonder if I would have had that same perspective if I had known I was adopted, because I've been afraid to have children. I've always had this unfounded fear that maybe I wouldn't make a good mother, that maybe motherhood just wasn't for me. And I never knew where that came from. I never had any reason, I guess, to feel that way, but that's always been a fear that I've carried with me. Like, I don't think I can be a good mom. And I was pregnant when I was 19. I got pregnant my sophomore year of college, and I didn't keep the baby. And I think if I had known different things, of course you can't change the past, but I think if I had gone through life with a different understanding, maybe my thoughts about motherhood would be different now. Maybe I would have created a family. Because I think there's something to be said for, creating what you want to see, like being able to see someone who looks like you, being able to create a new legacy, a new beginning, so to speak. And just wondering if I had known my beginnings earlier on, that could have informed how I approached motherhood. And I could have worked through whatever issues I have around it. Because now where I sit, I feel like maybe my thoughts about motherhood aren't even mine. Maybe I'm carrying what my birth mother could have been carrying with me. And I've internalized it. I don't know that fully to be true, but at least I would have had an opportunity to explore that if I had known, and possibly had made different decisions to start a family sooner. But yeah, so that's one of the things that I'm working through now, just really trying to sit with this idea of motherhood, because I don't think it's too late. Of course, society will say at my age, time is ticking, you might want to get on it. But personally, I don't feel like it's too late. I feel like if that's something that I do want for myself, it still can happen.
Yeah.
But I'm just working through that now. Like, what does potential motherhood look like for me? Or do I want to stay in the auntie lane and the godmommy lane and just love on all the children in our village? So yeah. I'm working through it. It's a process.
For sure. Now, one thing that we know about Mother's Day as well is that, of course, we're bombarded with messaging around like, celebrate your mom, and, it's like this happy time. But we also recognize that for some, this is not the happiest time, and that there may be a sense of loss there. And that loss isn't necessarily because a mother has passed away. Like, your mom can be living, right? And you can feel a sense of loss of that relationship, that things aren't the way that you want them to be. Do you have any words of encouragement for individuals who have experienced like the loss of a mother, particularly, if they're deceased, but even if the relationship has been, diminished?
Diminished. So of course I speak from a space of having a mother who is deceased. And for me, one of the things that has been the most helpful is just honoring how I feel. And those feelings change from year to year. So I remember the first year after the first Mother's Day after my mom passed, I couldn't really go on social media. Like, I didn't want to be the Debbie Downer, looking at everybody's posts and, the pictures with their mom. So I just logged off for like 48 hours.
Yeah.
Because that's what I needed to do to honor the space that I was in. But as years went on, I was able to work through that, and I can go on social media now and I can look at the photos and I can celebrate with my friends and I can wish them and their mothers well. But I would just tell anybody who's listening, don't feel like you're obligated to do that. So if you can't be on social media, that's fine. If you don't want to go out with the family for dinner, which right now none of us can go out, but if we were not in quarantine, if you don't want to go out, that's fine. Like, really honor how you feel. And if you're estranged from your mother, again, and this is kind of tricky because, we're taught to honor thy mother, honor thy father, but I don't believe in phony kicking it. So if you do not have a relationship with your mother that brings you peace, I don't believe in disturbing your peace. I believe you should maintain your peace. So if you don't want to call her, I think that's okay. Maybe your threshold is sending her a text. Maybe that's where you're at. You send a text and maybe she'll text you back, or maybe she won't. And you have to sit with, okay, how will I feel if she doesn't text me back or if she doesn't call me back? I think it's about just maintaining your peace. So just being mindful, being honest with yourself about how you feel and not feeling the pressure to do what everybody else is doing around you.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback off of that, because it was well said, I think it's just extremely important for us to be authentic at all times, even when it hurts, even when it seems wrong or ill-placed, for us to not look at other mother-daughter relationships with envy, right? Because like with any relationship, you don't necessarily know what is happening within it, right? So you spoke about social media. It's like anything can be portrayed, right, on social media. It doesn't mean that it is precisely that way. So let's not even get entangled in relationships that we think are, on a good foot, right? Let's focus in on what's ours. And to your point, Sandy, if your threshold is sending a text, if your threshold is a phone call, if your threshold is like, I'm not doing that this year,
it's okay.
It's completely okay. Because at the end of the day, you have to be okay with you. And one thing is for certain, for someone, this is just my opinion, for someone who has given life, right, as we stated again, has given rise to another, human being, or you've been the product of that, then really you got to also look at both of you are, connected to each other. So sometimes you're not fighting against the other person, you're fighting against yourself in both regards. So what is it that you're fighting against, right? And so sometimes you have to take a step back and again, go within, what is it about this person that is just really grinding my gears? And is it them or is it really me? And if you recognize that it is yourself, taking the necessary steps to mend a relationship, being able on both sides, mother or daughter, to apologize and say, I was wrong. This is where I was coming from. I don't want you to be misunderstood. Or, you know what, I've done some messed up things in your life. I take ownership. Doesn't make it, better, right? But sometimes we just want somebody to be honest with us and just tell us the straight up truth so that we can begin our healing process from there. Just tell me the truth, and then we can, move forward. Acknowledge what you did, and we can move forward. So that might be your mama, that might be you. But in either case, take the opportunity to sit back, think about that, and make actions that feel authentic to yourself.
Yes. Maintain your peace.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. We are going to get out of here. We want to again extend a happy Mommy's Day.
Yes, happy Mother's Day. Look, I got my mama right here. You know what I'm saying? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Love you.
Me and Corenia, kick it.
Right. I love it.
All right, y'all. We'll see you soon. Don't forget to follow us, leave a comment, give us some suggestions, whatever it is that you feel you need to do to continue this conversation. At Black to the Beginning, we're signing off. See y'all soon.
See you soon.